Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unsure to Unstoppable podcast. It is another guest episode today, which I'm so excited to bring you Danielle Madden. This is actually attempt number two. We had to try a wee minute ago and the signal just wasn't happening. So fingers crossed for this time. I'll be joined in just a little second by Danielle. She does a lot of similar stuff to me. She's women's circles and retreats and all that beautiful stuff. She's a lot about feminine power, menstrual cycles. I actually don't know her story, so I'm excited to hear it today alongside yourselves. We have been in the DMs with each other for a little while now, and yeah, it's exciting to bring it on today. So I'll be joined by her in a little sec. All right, crossing our fingers and crossing our toes and crossing our eyes to make sure this works this time. So I am joined by the beautiful Danielle Madden. She is all about female power, which I love. Actually, I'm not sure how we connected, but we did, and it's been fabulous. So we've been in the
Was meant
DMs
to
with each
be.
other. This is the first time we're actually seeing each other's whole faces in real time. So for anybody that doesn't know you, Danielle, first of all, thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to hear your story because I actually don't know it, which is exciting. For anyone meeting you for the first time, who is Danielle and what is the work that you feel most called to do in the world?
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for having me. So I'm Danielle. For now, I run women's circles, and I'm now on a journey of learning about the menstrual cycle. I'm doing a year-long course to deepen my studies, and then I'm just about to embark on a feminine facilitator training over 9 months, which will be about like the womb, the nervous system, ancient earth practices. It actually takes it back to like the ancient ways the feminine lived and the ancient like Celtic traditions and stuff.
Oh,
Um, but my journey with the menstrual cycle basically began because I had really bad periods. I was really angry on my periods, and this went on for years. I was so angry that nobody wanted to be around me, actually. I made my gran cry. I was an arsehole, honestly. And then I actually realised that I had like this like a womb awakening, you could say, when I was in Colombia. Because when you're traveling, you're not in the system, you're not working, you're not distracted, you actually have time to slow down. So I was able to come into my feminine essence, you could say, when I was traveling. So I really was in touch with my feminine side during my travels. So that is what my womb just started speaking to me and was like, the reason you've had bad periods is because you've never set a boundary in your life. And it was projecting outwardly during my bleed. So what you suppress, your blood speaks.
mhm.
So that set me off on the journey to wanting to explore this deeper because I know many women in the world experience bad periods, cramps, pains. They speak negatively about their periods. They say, oh, my time of the month. And there's just this negative talk about it or taboo subject. And in this world, we live in a very masculine driven world. And us women who bleed, it just does not match the system that we live in today.
Mhm.
And women are going at a high rate of speed, 100% when they're bleeding. When actually, when you're bleeding, you only have 20% life force energy. You're
Mhm.
meant to slow down, but because you've not been taught that, you're still trying to go at the speed of the man.
Mhm.
So I'm really just so passionate about this and really, really just want to share it. And I really want to guide other women home to their wombs in the remembrance of their sacred bleed and that time of the month, and start changing the way they see it and start seeing it as a ritual.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Amazing. And
Thank you.
like you say, it's stuff we're not taught. And in fact,
Mhm.
probably the stuff both of us teach is stuff you're not taught, which is
No.
crazy, really, when you think
Mhm.
about it. So your work obviously does a lot of it, but the menstrual wisdom, feminine power, about sacred earth, ancient healing. What was it that pulled you into this path? Was it that just a moment in Colombia, or was something prior to that?
I love these questions. Well, I started solo traveling when I was 23. I got
Nice.
out of a toxic relationship and we were meant to go to Singapore and Bali together. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go solo traveling. This is the best way to heal your heartbreak.
Absolutely.
And I seen this deal to go with like a tour group to go to Vietnam. And I was like, I just didn't think twice about it. I just did it. So if anybody's listening here and wants to go solo traveling, don't think, just do, you know. The best things that come out of life is when you just do it, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared. You just got to take that leap. So I took the leap and went to Vietnam, my first solo trip. But because I just got a toxic relationship, I was very unhealed. A lot of
Yeah.
old wounds come up. Like, because I was in a tour group with other people and I felt so unworthy. I didn't feel that I belonged there. But anyway, so that set me off in my path of self-discovery, of healing, because going out in the world when you're away from your hometown, you get to meet a new version of yourself. You
100%.
know, when you're just in your hometown, you only know a small speck of who you truly are. And then
Mhm.
when you go out into the world, you unpack new layers of yourself, you like unlock different parts of your soul.
Mhm.
So after Vietnam, I was like, I want to go to Australia to live. So, so I
Right.
went to Australia on a working holiday visa. Australia was my dream for like 5 years. So I was like, I'm going to go there, go on a working holiday visa. So I flew out there and everything just kept going wrong. It
Mhm.
went wrong, but it actually led me to what was right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everything
100%.
was crumbling. Everything just kept crumbling. I kept losing my job over there. I kept being redirected to different places, and everything just fell apart. And I didn't know where else to turn. For the first time in my life, I prayed. I didn't know what I was praying to, but I prayed. And I just remember just praying in Australia because everything was falling apart. And I felt God's presence for the first time in my life. And then after that, I started seeing angel numbers.
Right.
And then that began my spiritual awakening journey in
Right.
Australia. So that was the beginning. But I actually got stranded out there
Wow.
because it was during COVID times,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I had to get a rescue flight home by the government. So
Wow.
so my 5 year plan to go to Australia, everything actually fell to shreds, but everything that fell apart actually led me to my awakening. So it was
Yeah.
actually all divinely aligned, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that actually, so having the awakening in Australia led me on the healing journey, which led me to the path I'm on today to eventually healing and coming back home to my womb space.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
thank
So
you.
before stepping into all this work, what did life look like? So if we rewind all the way back, so like I said to you, in these episodes we go like way, I say way back, it's back as wherever you want to go basically.
Yeah.
Before stepping into this work, what did life actually look like for you? Were you always connected to this side of yourself? Was there always something, or like you said, you were in a toxic relationship? So if you rewind, like before you stepped into this work, what did life look like?
I was so insecure. I had so low self-esteem. I did not know myself. I was so lost. I turned to drink and drugs after my toxic relationship. I would just go with men, you could say, just to
Right.
validate me.
Yeah.
I was so out of touch with my soul. I did not know who I was. I was a little lost soul who just didn't know who I was. And you could say, in a sense, that travel saved me, you
Yeah.
know, because I was just drinking and wasting my life away. And there was a part of me, I'd always wanted to travel since I was a little girl. And there was that part of me that just stuck with me. And I was like, I'm doing this. You
Aye.
know, and because of traveling, it literally saved me and it opened up a new can of worms, a new like life, you know, a new world. It made me see that there's more to life. There's more to life than that wee box I was stuck in, that wee mindset, you know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think as well when you do traveling and stuff, I think our society is so bound by this like narrative of you can't do it, like you can't do that. So I remember when I went to Cologne last year to see Tony Robbins, and it was amazing. But mum, and bearing in mind I was 39 at the time, right, just about to turn 40, and my mum was like, what? You can't get, what were you doing on the phone? Do you know what I mean? Like checking it, it's like about 10 messages for her and all that. And she was horrified that I was going anywhere myself, like, and like I was staying in a hostel, like all this sort of stuff. But
Hmm.
it's just because there's that fear, isn't it? It's that overriding fear of, and she's like, that's a cult. And she was having a pure panic about it. And I was like, I'm doing this. Like I'm doing this. And like you say, the people you meet, the experiences you have, like the light bulb moments, it's just incredible, isn't it? Like there's no I've done quite a lot of crazy things, but there's no crazy thing I regret doing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all had a something, even if it's not been the thing that you think you're going to get. There's always been something that's came off the back of it. That's like you say, it's like an evolution. It's like another level. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you'd say that you were
Well done,
insecure.
Donna. That's great.
Well,
When it
do you know
feels
what's
scary to jump, you've got to jump.
absolutely, but sometimes it is other people, isn't it? That like and it's not because they don't want you to grow. It's just because they're of their fear that is projecting onto you,
Uh-huh.
and for a lot of people, that can therefore be like the thing that then stops them from taking the leap because somebody else, you've already got that fear in your head anyway, and then when somebody else amplifies that, then that's going to change the balance in your mind to be like, oh no, I'm just not going to do it then. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, it can change your life. It can actually change your life. So you mentioned that you were insecure and you had low self-esteem, you had drinking drugs and promiscuous and stuff like that. Do you think that insecurity came from like a younger age? Had you always been quite insecure?
No, it probably did come from a younger age of maybe having an emotional and available mum and dad. To be fair,
Okay.
I didn't have the emotional support from my mum or my dad. I'm the oldest child, I'm the
Mm.
eldest, so I have three younger siblings and they are like my children in a sense. I've
Yeah,
taken a
yeah,
lot of responsibility for them and been like a mother role for them. So I never really had a role model. I never
yeah,
really had them to guide me. I feel like I just basically kind of raised myself in a
yeah.
sense. So I never really had anybody saying you're amazing. I'm proud of
Okay.
you. You can do this, and if you don't have people telling you those things, you just think the opposite. You don't feel like you are worthy or you're good enough or, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
hmm
I think that's such a general thing, isn't it, with the oldest child? Because I think probably as a parent, obviously being a parent, like
hmm
you're figuring it out, like you have no idea. Do you know what I mean? And this, see if I was to have kids now, my two are obviously a wee bit older, but if I was to
hmm
have kids now, I would parent very differently than what I did when. Not to say that there's anything wrong, right, good, bad, right, or wrong, but like it would just be different now because I have so much more wisdom than what I had back in the day.
hmm
So when I started parenting, when because I was only 23 when I had Dylan, um,
hmm
I still had a lot of the conditioning from my parents. Again, not to say they were good, bad, right, and wrong, but they would have got that from their parents and so on and so forth.
hmm
And whereas I have done so much personal development and growth and all this different transformational stuff that I'm now in a total different narrative. My brain's in a total different space where I would actually be quite different as a parent, I think now, which is funny. But yeah, I think that shapes you, doesn't it? It totally shapes you throughout your whole life. Like that need for that caregiver, and if you don't have it, it can massively affect your choices. It really can. And that's probably a massive reason as to why you end up in a toxic relationship because it was what you were used to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, my ex and my dad were very alike, very
Yeah.
alike, but especially when they drank alcohol, they were very aggressive when they drank alcohol. So it was literally just a mirror. You go to what you feel safest way, don't you? Because that's like a safety, that's like a familiarity. So that's
Yeah.
where you go, don't you, to the familiar
Aye.
people.
The familiar chaos.
Aye,
Absolutely.
exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. So, every woman that I speak to has a moment where something in her life isn't aligned. I say a moment, sometimes it's not a moment, but sometimes they come to a realization that something's not aligned. What did that season actually look like for you when you kind of realized like this is that my life is shifting here? What was the realization? What did that look like for you?
Hmm. Yeah, probably when I did have the awakening, and I just realized that, everything I knew was a lie. And,
Yeah.
when you start to see, I think I got this moment, I was like, because you go through your life thinking, I'm not worthy, I'm not this. And then I like looked at all the people who had been with, and I was actually like, these people aren't worthy of me, actually. I had
Aye.
this light bulb moment, and I was like, actually, are these people even good enough for me? And I've spent my full life thinking that I'm not good enough for them.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
so yeah.
I think that need for validation is such a thing, isn't it? In for young girls, like certainly when we our generation, it was a thing like that you needed that validation from men or from whomever in order to be almost like that chosen thing, like I've been picked into it, like that kind of idea. Whereas when you start to do this work, it hugely shifts it to the point where
Mhm.
you're probably I don't want to say you go too far because you don't go, I don't think you ever go too far.
Decentered men, yeah. I've decentered men. I've been single 8 years now.
Yeah, I've been single
That's
for a
how
long
long
time.
you as well. And I feel
Yeah.
like see that long-term singleness. I actually did a TikTok about this other day.
Mhm.
Long-term singleness is a warrior's path to self-mastery. Like to
Mhm.
actually be alone, and having to deal with all your stuff alone and knowing that you want a partner, but you're not willing to sacrifice or compromise. You know
Yeah.
in your soul that you deserve the best and you're not willing to settle, even though it's truly what you desire. But like holding it for that, because I do want children one day,
Yeah.
but having to surrender that part to God, to a higher source, to be like, it's not up to me. But
Yeah.
yeah, are you the
And
same
the
with your
thing is,
relationship?
I have been 6 years. Yeah. But
Yes,
I
yeah.
think it is the more you do this work,
Mhm.
the more your eyes are open to so much, and the more, like you
Mhm.
say, you create a standard of living for yourself and for the people who you allow into your life, that it really makes it the pool, if you like, the pool very small. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's like that you wouldn't like you wouldn't lower your standards just
Mhm.
because, like, do you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and I think some people say to me like, "Oh, you need to everybody can be perfect," and I'm like, I'm not looking for perfect. Like, I'm not even really necessarily looking, to be quite honest. Like you
Hi.
say, like I'm not looking for perfect, but I won't settle. So there's a difference between
Yes.
that settling and that looking for perfection, because obviously perfection is not a thing. Nobody's perfect. But I
Mhm.
think it's important when you're on this path and you are open to learning more and discovering more and healing and recognizing that healing is never finished. Like
Mhm.
that somebody else has to be on that same level as you. Do you know what I mean? For it to be a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I
So
feel
was
like
it?
more and more women are single now, though. I feel like
Yeah.
there is more women, choosing themselves. Back in your granny's day, you needed the man to survive. But now
Yeah.
women are building businesses, they're buying houses. It's like actually a man would have to add to the life I've already created for
Value.
myself.
100%, 100%. And like you say, it is such a beautiful thing to see so many
Uh-huh.
people who are stepping into this world, because
Mhm.
the more I connect with more people, the more that it is a beautiful movement. It's amazing.
Mhm.
I actually said at the end of last year that this year I'm going to do a men's retreat, because I do think that there needs to be spaces held for men, even though
Mhm.
women are my heart. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I think because there is so much opportunity for women now
Mhm.
versus what there is for men, so like there needs to be a bit of both. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent as per
No,
bloody
I
usual.
agree. I agree with you. I'm actually running a grief retreat in May, and I'm opening it to men and women as well because
Wow.
I feel like men and women, I think that would benefit both of them.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah,
I think there's still such a stigma. And do you know what probably part of the other reason why I went, I know we're off on a pure tangent here, but anyway,
just,
part
just
of the
flow.
other
Yeah.
reason, I know, we just go with the flow. Part of the other reason why I was like talking about doing a men's retreat is also my son is 17. And when I
Mhm.
think about him versus my daughter who's 14, he doesn't have the same opportunity to do this sort of a work. Now, that's not to say I would force it upon him, of course I wouldn't. But even in his mind, in that age, he still thinks like therapy and all that sort of stuff. He's like, there's a pure stigma to do with that, as in you only go to that if you're fucking cuckoo. But I'm like, no, it's like actual prevention is better than cure. It's so good to go to these things to talk and
Mhm.
and get different perspectives and blah blah blah. But his narrative in his head is still that it's for people who are really mentally ill and whatever. And I'm like, it's totally not. So there's probably an element of me, although 100% I do think men need more, there needs to be more spaces for men. But there's probably an element of it is like, I need to do something for the future of my son's generation. Do you know what I mean?
That's great. I feel
Do you
like
know what I
there
mean?
does need to be more spaces for men because men need to kind of catch up in the inner work to
100%.
women. I
Yeah.
feel like men are slacking behind in the inner work department.
But it's an
And
ego thing,
like,
isn't it? A lot of
I
it's an ego thing.
am.
Yeah.
And if like yeah, it is the ego because of course that's why men feel like they can't talk. There's more suicide in men.
Yeah.
One
You
of my
can't
best friends
cry.
committed suicide. Like he was a boy, like 3-4 years ago.
Mhm.
It's heartbreaking. And
And
then
it is
the
heartbreaking
one
and
year later was with drugs. So it's like it's
yeah.
so heartbreaking that men feel like they're suicide, drugs, that they don't feel like they can talk it out. They need to like suppress it or numb it.
No,
It's
it for
heartbreaking.
sure, a hundred
Hmm.
percent. We'll get back on track, shall we?
Yeah, definitely.
Because we're all a bit women. But I mean, there'll be hundreds of these. There'll be hundreds of these tangents for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so was there a specific? So you obviously talked about Colombia. So and you said you had the awakening. You had the awakening in Australia or Colombia,
I had an awakening in Australia, then I had a womb awakening in Colombia.
right?
Yeah, so it's totally
Colombia,
different.
then Australia,
No, I went to Australia in
first,
2019,
right?
and then I went to South America in 2 years ago, 2024. So that was for 6 months. So I did like ayahuasca out there,
Mm.
San Pedro. Yeah, I actually got the inner calling to go there to journey with ayahuasca.
Uh-huh.
Um, but then I got there. I mean, ayahuasca's all right. I actually got the call to go out there to work with a plant medicine, but I actually got led to cacao, and
Right.
I've actually got a really deep connection with the cacao plant. That I actually run cacao circles here and my women's circles. Run them with the cacao. I live with an indigenous family in Ecuador who has
Uh,
cacao on their land. So
right.
I feel like I wanted to go over there to work with a plant medicine, but then everything just kept leading me back to the cacao. And
Mm-hmm.
cacao also connects you to your womb. I know we say cacao connects you to your heart,
Yeah.
but she very connects you to your womb as well. But I wasn't drinking cacao when the womb awakening happened. It was just like an epiphany. I was on my periods, and then I was just walking down the street and I literally just got this epiphany aha moment like, the reason your periods have been shit basically is because you've not like that's what you could say my womb spoke to me for the first time. That's what
Yeah.
it felt like. It felt like my womb was like speaking to me because I'd always spoke to it with negative language. I hate my period. Oh, my lady problems. See when
Mhm.
you're see psychologically, see if you're speaking negatively about any body part, it listens, it hears you, and like
100%.
a lot of women are like really demonizing their womb spaces, and because it's been through colonization, through patriarchy,
Yeah.
our womb is so sacred. Our womb creates life.
Yeah.
Every person on this earth has to pass through a womb to come onto this earth, but it's
Mhm.
not honored. It's not
Yeah.
seen as something sacred. And our womb connects us back to the divine. Our womb is a portal to God.
Yeah.
We don't have to look out there for God. They say, oh, look for God out and up. Us women need to look for God in and down. We can
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
God through our womb spaces.
Yeah.
We are the portal between heaven and earth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I can hear how passionate you are about it for sure.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Do you know, I heard that I've
Mhm.
actually heard this before, but I read it again yesterday, which is just so crazy that I'm speaking to you today. But there's like a reel somewhere and it's an indigenous man and he was talking about have you seen the video about the braids? He talks about the braids.
Oh, I don't
He
know.
was talking about how the reason that men and indigenous cultures wear braids is because is like honoring the female because without the female
Oh,
there would be no men. And then he also talked about how the three different parts of the braids were like I can't remember like, off the top of my head what he'd said, but one was like spirit, one was the soul, and one was something else. Can't remember. But it's a beautiful thought that they have such a honor and such a respect for their women that they wear the hair and braids to honor them. It's so
I
beautiful.
love
Yeah,
that.
it's
It's
so
so
lovely. Like you
beautiful.
say, different cultures are so different, aren't they? They're so, so different from us in the Western world. And well, there's so much wisdom there. There's so much learning there, isn't there? There's so much things we can actually take away from these people. You'd mentioned about obviously plant medicines. How did that like obviously that's like a deep dive. Like there's no surface level shit there. That is like
Yeah.
going full into the
Mhm.
how did that journey happen or what happened throughout the journey? Obviously just share what you're happy to share.
Yeah, so the first night of ayahuasca, actually, as I was heading into the jungle on the boat, I started purging before I even took the ayahuasca. I just
Wow.
started crying. It must have been like the energy of the jungle.
Yeah.
I actually volunteered there, so I volunteered at the ayahuasca retreat. I got a discounted price. I was just basically cooking the food. Um, so basically, when I got there, so the first night, it was a really deep journey. I had visualizations and I was seeing all sorts, and it really took me into my past lives.
Right.
It took me into a lot of my past lives that I had to purge and let go of. And I remember there was this one past life, and I was holding the pain in like maybe my belly space, and I felt really sick. And it was like this. I became the person I was before. This person who was carrying a lot of pain, it was me, but it wasn't me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think she was a woman in the Caribbean, and she felt a
Right.
lot of pain. And I was just like crying for her. Like, I was crying for the person I was before. It was
Mm-hmm.
deep shit, then I was like purging out. And then I remember this one past life in Jamaica. I just kept coming back to
What these
Jamaica.
things?
Yeah, and then there was like ancestral stuff as well. I could feel the spirit of my great grandma actually like holding me from behind while I was purging.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then my friend who committed suicide, his
Yeah.
spirit came to me. I was really
Beautiful.
crying. Yeah, I was crying for him, and his spirit came to me, and he was like, I'll always be here for you, and I'm with you, and I'm guiding you now. And the ayahuasca actually showed me the pain he was in, so that kind
Right.
of gave me a bit of closure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that
Totally
was
like
powerful.
that to kind of
Uh-huh.
let go.
Uh-huh. So I feel like yeah, that was cool. And then like I mean, I thought ayahuasca was going to be this pure transformative thing. I mean, it wasn't for me because everybody hits it differently, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, it purged out a lot of past life stuff for me. It was a lot of letting go of the old, not so much the future. But
Yeah, yeah.
San Pedro kind of showed me more about the future, if
Really?
you could say. San Pedro was more like an ancestral medicine. My ancestors came to me. So,
That's
Donna,
cool.
I've basically tried to run away from Scotland all my life, right? From I was 23 till I was 30. I've tried to run away. I didn't want to be in Scotland. I rejected it. I hated being there. I basically travelled from I was 23 till I was 30. I've been to 31 countries, but I've been to 18 on my own. So anyway, anytime I want to go travelling, over the past few years, my ancestors tried to speak to me, and they're like, "You need to go back to Scotland, Danielle. You've got work to do there. Like ancestral healing." And then I was in Ecuador, and I was doing the San Pedro, and like my ancestors were around me, and they were talking to me, and they were basically saying, "Every woman in your lineage is had a toxic man. You need to be the one that brings in a healthy man."
Yeah,
And then
break
they
it. Yeah.
said, yeah, and then they said, "Oh, there's a lot of money blocks in your lineage. You need to be the one that breaks it." And I'm like, no
Mhm.
pressure.
Aye.
No pressure. So yeah, they were basically telling me I was like the curse breaker, you could say.
Yeah.
But every time I go away abroad, I always feel my ancestors around me. I feel them most when I'm somewhere else, and they're like trying to tell me to come home and guiding me
Right.
back there. So I do feel really called to learn more about the Celtic culture. I went around the world looking for my purpose, but it was literally right beneath my feet,
Yeah.
right at home.
Yeah.
Right,
But
right
without,
in my womb, right at home, right.
aye. But I suppose without doing that journey, would you have ever found it? Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly. I would know. So
It's amazing
yeah.
how these things, although they'll take you on all these like almost like a snake path,
Ah.
but it's amazing how it's always a guide. Like it's always a guide,
Mhm.
isn't it? And I think
Mhm.
the more intuitive you get with yourself, so that before you'd said like you felt as if the womb was speaking to you, and that's something probably most people would never probably won't understand because they're never slow enough to
Mhm.
actually tap into what is going on in their body. Like they never just stop and like actually listen to what is going on in their body. And that's definitely a journey that I have been on much more so. Obviously I've been doing all the mindset and the body transformation for years and years and years. But I've always had this pain, like this, I've had a chronic pain thing, and I don't even like talking about it because I don't like connecting it to me as a human. Do you know what I mean? Because I do think, like you say, things are listening all the time. Um,
Mhm.
so this chronic pain has been very much a guide to all these weird spiritual things that I've done because it was like at first it was very much like I'll do anything to get rid of this pain. I'll do anything to get rid of this pain, but I now recognize like so now I'm doing a lot more somatic stuff. So I'm doing myofascia stuff. I'm doing like somatic one-to-one stuff. I'm doing like there's loads of different like elements of somatic, so breath work, all that sort
Mhm.
of stuff. And I recognize that actually had I not had this pain, it would not have took me on this journey to be doing the shit that I'm doing just now. And see when I do this anything now, like literally anything. So I was sometimes used to disassociate and disconnect a bit, whereas now when I do anything, so whether I do breath work, whether I do, it mostly happens in breath work, anything that's like somatic. my body like starts shaking, starts
Mhm.
convulsing. Like it is fucking crazy. And like anytime I say that to anybody who doesn't understand it, they're like, what the fuck? Don't talk shit. Like, no way. And I'm like, I need
That's
somebody to
the
record.
trauma leaving your body, though, isn't
Uh-huh.
it? That's what
I'm like,
I
I need somebody to record me in these ceremonies
am.
because it looks like The Exorcist, or it feels
Mhm.
like The
Yeah.
Exorcist. I don't know what it looks like, but that's what it feels like. It literally
Mhm.
feels like The Exorcist. So the more I'm getting in tune with my body, the more my body is surrendering and allowing what has to happen has to have to happen. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
do I want the pain to go away? Absolutely. But I'm now at a place where I'm like, I recognize without this pain, I would not be doing the work that I'm doing. Does that make
There you
sense?
go. The wound is where the light gets in, you know?
100%.
Like your wound becomes your offering to the world when you learn to unpack it, you know?
Yeah.
It then
Yeah.
becomes your gift, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
And like you say, like people don't get that until they slow down, until they tap in. And also it's a
Mhm.
process, isn't it? It's a journey.
Uh-huh.
Like it's not a, oh, here's a new magic wand, there we go. It like takes time.
Yeah.
I've been doing this work for years, and only now is my body feeling safe enough to surrender. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas before it was like I went to SFT that was called, this mad girl was doing like a basically like a she was trialing three different therapies, if you like, together. And so one was tuning forks, one was psychodynamic, and something in somatics, I think it was. So the tuning forks she used, like it was like all that tuning fork stuff. And the first time I went, it was just a bit like, oh, this feels different on this side, this feels different on this side, da, da, da. It was a bit more like kind of logical.
Mhm.
The second time I went off to a totally another planet. My body
Wow.
didn't move, like, but I had all these visions and all that sort of stuff. I had a fabulous time, but my body
Mhm.
did not move, not even an inch, right? Didn't move. And the girl had said that I totally disassociated. So like she was processing a lot of the work for me. But then the third time I went back to her, that was one of the times that I started all that crazy convulsing. And
Wow.
it took a few times for my body to be like, right, okay, that's okay. We're cool here. It's all right. We can let go.
Trust.
Yeah, just let this
Yeah.
go. Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes people
Mhm.
have this overarching thought process that they'll just do a thing and that's it. They'll do it once and
Yes.
that's it.
Whereas
And
in our society, like we AI and everybody just
yeah,
wants fast paced everything, don't they? When
yeah,
that's just not life, it's a process. You've got to integrate it. And again, we live in a masculine driven world.
yeah,
And I feel like that's why a lot of women are ill. Like we're
yeah,
living in a high pace, capitalistic society that is driven by for a man
mhm,
because we have a 28-day cycle, you know.
yeah,
This world's running a 24-hour cycle,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and like that's the man's clock. That's not our
yeah,
biology. So
yeah,
we're trying to push ourselves into a biology or a clock that doesn't even run with in our system
yeah,
either. And I feel like, you know, logic, that is masculine again, thinking your
yeah,
way through it. But I feel like when you come back into the body, that's when you come back into your feminine essence, the body, isn't it? Like
yeah,
you know, the feeling, the embodiment of it is like feminine, but the thinking's like the masculine,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
100%. Um,
Yeah.
so was there obviously you said you've talked about a few different moments there, so you've done a lot of different modalities, really, haven't you? And explored loads of different modalities. Was there like, and you said you had a couple of awakening, was there like a wake up call that made you realize, so before you even went in the travels, was there like a something that made you realize that something had to change? Was there a bit
Yeah,
of a wake up call?
before I went traveling, I was like doing a lot of drinking drugs. I just basically got my toxic relationship, and for 2 years, I just drank and took drugs every weekend. I wasn't facing the pain, you know, as you do when
Yeah.
you're unhealed. I wasn't facing it at all. I was just drinking, drug it away, you know. And I just remember like sitting in a house party one night, and I was like 3 days into the sesh, you could say, you know.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, I was like, if I don't go to Australia now, I'm going to die. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
I'm going to die because I am going to kill myself through these drinking drugs. You know,
yeah.
this is not right the way I'm living. You know.
And
So
was
yeah,
that
that
just on a random session one week? It was just
yeah,
a
on a random
moment,
session.
really? And then
Yeah.
did you book straight off the back of that?
Basically, I was saving up and I was like, fuck it, I'm just booking it and just going, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just need out here. Even though it didn't last, I was there 6 months, but that's the way it was meant to be. Because I came home and I
100%.
started healing. We were in lockdown, so it was a perfect time to have my
Yeah.
awakening. I was
Yeah.
learning all this spirituality and all these healing modalities, and we were slowing down, and the world paused, and it means you got to pause and I got to come into myself and discover myself on a deeper level. So I actually enjoyed it. It's not all been sunshine and rainbow because I ended up on a grief journey. I lost three people within a year of each other. I lost my two friends within 6 months each other. Then I lost my auntie. So the grief was another annotation, you could say. That was like 2 3 years ago. That's probably the hardest journey I've been on. I end up with PTSD, freeze trauma. This is after I've had obviously the awakening, and
Yeah.
after I've been on the healing journey. I feel like you're on the healing journey, but more things just keep coming at you to
Yeah,
heal.
it's forever. Absolutely.
And I put on a lot of weight. I did put on a lot of weight through the grief journey, and I felt like I didn't want to go out the house. I was like frozen. I had suicidal thoughts. I turned to the drink again, after
Mhm.
me trying to get off it. I turned to the drink again for the grief. And
Mhm.
that's why I want to run a grief retreat now that I'm doing in May, because I feel like the way we view grief in our society is like just get up, get on with it. Nobody asks you
Mhm.
if you're all right. Nobody holds space for you. We're
Mhm.
meant to grieve in community and ritual. That's the way our ancestors did it. So I'm going
Yeah.
to bring these ancestral rituals back alive, these earth-based practices back alive to the way we used to do it. Because
Mhm.
there's something lost in our society, the way we grieve. It's very desensitized. So because of that journey of grief I've been on, now I'm just at the other end. I've started eating better. I've lost some weight. I've
Mhm.
cut gluten and dairy out my diet. So I
Mhm.
feel like that has been like, cutting the gluten and dairy, that happened because I was on a grief journey, because I
Yeah.
felt I was like, I was really inflated. I was so inflated and I wasn't able to lose weight. But I think it's because of the trauma as
Yeah.
well.
Cortisol as well, eh?
Yeah, the cortisol was
Yeah.
running through my body. I was barely getting over the first death when the second death happened, and I was barely getting over the second when the third death happened because I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so fat, and my body just went into shock. So I was barely even coming up for air when the
Yeah.
other one was coming. So it really did, and I don't feel like I got enough support during that grief. I didn't, and that did send me down a dark path again. So that's why I'm like, people need support, during this process, and that's why I want to create something where people do have that support.
I think it's so powerful though, like any coach that I've spoke to, or any person that's been on the podcast for the most part anyway, their journey or what they're doing now is because of an experience that they have experienced, and therefore
Mhm.
if you have experienced something, you are the best person to be able to help someone through that. Because I think, not no shade on like counselors and all that sort of stuff, but sometimes it's a bit textbook, and sometimes it's a bit like I'll take you through this process. Well, sometimes like step by step, the way we are taught in the textbook of whatever it is, and
Aye.
actually sometimes that's not how it has to work, because
Mhm.
we are all so individual, aren't we? We're all so unique in ourselves and the way we process things. Obviously, there's elements of it that we'll process similarly, but I think when you have actually been in that position, you can actually resonate with that person rather than it being, I'm telling you this is how you should or shouldn't feel. It's more about I actually know how that feels. I get it.
Mhm.
And then people can actually feel how, like, they feel a bit more connected to you, don't they?
Mhm. Yeah, they do. Because you have that empathy and that understanding, and you've went into the darkness yourself,
Yeah.
so you understand it to a high degree. So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely.
So you've obviously you've had like your kind of beginning of that journey. You've went and done your travels and done a lot of different healing and released a lot of stuff. And then obviously then you had the grief, which kind of took you back down a peg or two, shall we say. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
so how was that process of getting out of that? I know it's not like you get out of it,
Yeah.
but do you know what I mean? Like, how was that process?
I genuinely feel like grief was an annotation for me. I do feel it literally dragged me into the underworld.
Mhm.
All that pain. But somatic exercises are great for it.
Yeah.
And I really turned to dancing. Dancing and psychedelics are so great for healing. The mushrooms are great because
Mm.
you can process a lot when you're on the mushrooms. Like the mushrooms have really helped me and my process with grief. Cacao has been great. Cacao's helped me through my grief as well. Being in nature, being with Mother Earth. Mother Earth is the first grief tender. Mother Earth holds us, and so does the trees. The trees are the
Yeah,
grief
yeah.
tenders as well. A tree held me through my grief one day, and it was so deep. It was, yeah, blew my mind. So just like taking the grief to nature, being with the water, see when the tears come, allow them, shed them,
Loving. Yeah.
and I would just put on music that would remind me of them, and I would dance, and I would allow the grief to move through me. It wasn't always like that because there was sometimes when the grief got too heavy, like when the third person died, there was a time where I just went into shock.
Mm.
I numbed, because grief takes you through many layers, many,
Yeah.
many layers, many. I don't know if you've experienced it, but like there's just so
I
many
have. Yeah,
layers.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So, one minute you're angry, one minute you're numb, one minute you've got apathy, one minute you're joyful. It's just so many layers, isn't there, of the grief. But yeah, so that was that. Like the somatic exercises, nature, the dancing, the psychedelics,
Hmm.
even just speaking to somebody, we need that community
Absolutely.
who's really helped me. And that's what I'm going to be sharing the grief retreat. I'm going to the nature based practices, that I've did, the somatic exercises, the dancing, all of that I want to share on
Hmm.
the grief
Beautiful.
retreat. Yeah,
I think
thank
sometimes
you.
grief it can knock you sideways, can't it? But also
Mhm.
there's an element of it that can also certainly when I went through something like my papa passed away and but on the same day my wee cousin passed away. This was
Oh, I'm
during
so
COVID, this a
sorry.
few years ago. And actually it gave me a sense of a bit of a sense of YOLO. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, it does
I,
do that.
So I had that whole, well, fuck this. If it can be taken away from you that quickly, I am doing fucking everything. I'm going all
Mhm.
out. And do you know what I mean? So actually, for me in that moment in time, and don't get me wrong, maybe there's still elements of that that I still need to process, but for me, it definitely took me on like I'm going to a fucking another level. Like I'm going to another level. I'm doing all the shit that I was like talking about doing but never actually done. Do you know what I mean? So it definitely gave me a bit of a YOLO.
It
Aye.
does catalyst you into your purpose in a sense. Like, I would never be running this grief retreat if I never lost them, and I was just going to run a grief circle, and I'm like, no, fuck it, I'm going to go all in and do a grief retreat. Like, I would never have did that if they hadn't passed away. And it's sad, as it is to say, like if they hadn't left this earth, I wouldn't be doing this right now in a sense. So it's like, they have pushed me because I do want to do other retreats as well.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of went all in and just went, fuck it. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just like saying, because as
100%.
again, life's too short,
Yeah.
like if death can be taken away from you so fast, then you've got to live. And actually, I've really believed that a lot of people are scared to live because they're actually scared to die.
Mm,
In the awakening path on this growth journey, you need to die many, many times within yourself
yeah.
as well. You
Mm,
die over and over again as each new identity as you rise into, or each new comfort zone you get out of. And I think a lot of people are actually scared to die. And that is why they're scared to live. They're not scared to
yeah.
live, they're scared to die. And that is why they're scared to take risks. That's why they're
Yeah.
scared to
They're
go
staying
out
in
into
that
the
comfort
world. And
zone. Yeah.
that's why they're scared
Mhm.
to do something new in the world because of that. The fear isn't living, it's death.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
what are the biggest doubts or fears that you had when you first started stepping into this path, or even in that like when you went through
Mhm.
that other part? Because effectively there's been a few, hasn't there, really?
Mhm. Mhm.
What was your
You know
biggest
what?
fear?
Probably you could. I want to say fear of failure, but it's probably fear of success. Because
Mm,
once you succeed, and then you have to like rise up, and you have to actually take on more responsibility. You
yeah.
know,
Mm,
become with more success comes more responsibility. You need to have a bigger capacity. That you need to hold. And I'm actually still working through that. There's still so many layers. Like I do eventually want to go full time and do a full time business helping women. But I'm
mhm,
just trying, I'm doing this course right now and I'm just trying to figure all that out. And a lot of
mhm.
it still overwhelms me. I'm not going to lie, like the marketing side of it,
Yeah.
all that side overwhelms me, and I'm just trying to like sit with that and like learn and it's good being around like-minded people like yourself.
Yeah.
It's like it's good being around people who are already on that level, and you can kind
Aye.
of learn from them or watch them and and get them to inspire you.
Yeah,
So yeah, there is like doubts there where it's like taking action is my big thing. Actually taking profound action and doing the things I say I'm going to do. So the procrastinating is my biggest issue, and I'm trying to work through that right now. Actually, I'm trying to work through why I procrastinate and why I feel stuck. And maybe there's a part of me that's still in freeze trauma response,
yeah.
and I'm not allowing myself, you know. So I'm trying to do more somatic work and get back to doing yoga and try to untangle that and sit with the shadow of it as well.
Yeah,
You
for
know, it's
sure.
definitely
Yeah.
sitting with the shadow of
But I
it.
think
Of,
it's good for people to hear that, like, even though you've done all this work,
hmm
there's still stuff. There's always work to be
There's
done. There's
always stuff to
always
be
work to be done.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
feel
so
like
important to say
yeah.
that. Do you know what I mean? To
Yeah, isn't
highlight that.
it?
Mhm.
You've got to be vulnerable. Like, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you're so brave for solo traveling around the world." I'm sensitive as fuck. I'm not always brave. Like I
Aye.
wasn't always brave. I was scared. Of course, yeah, you're scared, but you've just got to not let that fear um, take over. You can let fear come with you. Let fear sit in the driver's seat and be like,
Aye.
you can come along for the journey, but you can't take
Take
over. And
over.
you can let
Mhm.
fear and excitement coexist together. You know, because they're like coexisting together. You know, like before coming on this podcast, I was a bit nervous, but I
Aye.
was like, actually, I'm nervous and excited. It's like, you know, getting out your comfort zone. You know, it's like, aye, doing something you've not done before, like just
Feel the
the
fear and do it
unknown.
anyway.
Aye,
Absolutely.
that's an amazing
I've
book,
got a
isn't
wee
it?
quote somewhere that says that.
So good, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Aye.
Did you ever question whether 'cause obviously in our society is very different, but the
Uh-huh.
and obviously a lot of what you do is quite alternative, right? So,
Mhm.
but obviously it's a bit more of a thing, if you like, nowadays. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people doing it. But did you ever question whether you were quote unquote allowed to do this
Mm.
or take up this space?
I feel like as women, we've been taught to, you know, be quiet, you
Oh,
know, be a
yes.
people pleaser, overgive, but we're not allowed to be confident or sure of ourselves. So I
Mm,
feel like there's a lot of that to unpack as well in our society, you know, like how dare you take up space? Who am I to do this? So there has been that as well, where I'm like the imposter syndrome of who am
yeah,
I to do this? Like, am I qualified? Or you know that wee niggling wee voice comes into you, didn't it?
yeah,
The programming does come back up because it's your default mode.
100%.
It's like the you know, and I'm no perfect. I know I've still got lots of work to untangle, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But like
Yeah.
you say, there's so many people who stay small, don't they? Because they've
Mhm.
been conditioned to be that way. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes you need to sneak out of your own way. Do you know what I mean? Like
I love
it's like
that.
you're
Yeah.
the only person that's stopping you for, and who gives
Oh.
a fuck what people think? Like who cares?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like will they care in like in a year's time, in 10 years' time, in fucking 100 years' time? Nobody gives a fuck whether you're doing this or doing
You're so
that, whatever.
right.
I think it's really important that a lot of people, like you say, had the fear of what you were saying about the fear that they live living and dying, but they also have a fear of like caring so much about what other people think.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I actually wrote like a video as well about I feel like low self-esteem and insecurity is actually self-centeredness. I've had it, I know it's like a form of self-centeredness because you're thinking, oh, what do they think about me? Oh, what do they think? So it is a form of you're still directing it back to you. You're still caring so much about yourself. It's more
Yeah,
you're caring about how people view you. You're not caring about what they think. You're caring about how they view you. So it's still
yeah,
self-centered. So see, once I unpack that and actually thought, actually, that's very self-centered of me to be insecure. So that kind of reshifted it for me in a sense.
aye. But which is it's a good way, well, perspective shift though,
um,
isn't it? Because then it makes you
uh-huh.
think actually a wee bit differently. So
Mhm.
the first step you took in towards reclaiming your power was going traveling. That was the big thing.
Yes,
You just trusted
yes,
your
that changed
intuition.
my life, you know, because as
Beautiful.
I said, when you're in your hometown, you like literally you're only in this wee small box. What's
Yeah,
that quote? It says like traveling's like a book, and no, and those who don't leave only read one chapter. You
yeah,
know, it's like you go out and expand. You don't like you live in your wee hometown, your wee people. You're surrounding yourself with the same 10 people. They've got the same mindset. They've got the same pub. They're doing the same stuff over and over again. But you take yourself out of that. You
yeah,
leave the ordinary and step foot into the extraordinary, you know,
yeah.
and you see life in a new light. You see yourself in a new light.
Mhm.
Traveling solo really boosts your confidence. It really gives you a new view of yourself, a new view of the world. You know, if you can solo travel, you can do anything in this
Yeah,
world. You know, it really just expands your capacity. You know, of
yeah.
what you can do.
One of my friends recently done a first solo travel, and since then, I think she's been 2 or 3 times now. And she recently turned 50, and her husband passed away a good few years ago now, and she like that turned to the drink and the no drugs, but she turned to the
Mm-hmm.
drink and was out every weekend, whatever. And she was shitting herself. I mean, absolutely shitting herself to do this solo holiday. I can't even remember how it came about, and I was like, trust me, you will fucking love it. You're going to feel like you're going to feel so empowered. You're going to be
Mm-hmm.
so proud of yourself. And sure enough, I checked in with her when she came back and she was like, oh my God, Donna, I can't believe I've done that. I'm so proud of myself. Da, da, da. Booked another one. I think she's been on tour
Good.
now
It
and she
does.
loves
It
it.
gives you a
And she's
newfound confidence. Good for
and then
her.
she's now no drinking. So she's now I think
Wow.
150 days or something like that. I think she is sober. Originally, she was like
That's
made
amazing.
herself. It's amazing. She made herself a challenge of like 100 days, and then she's like, "I'll see what happens after 100 days," sort of thing. And then now she's on 150 days. So it's like it is
Mhm.
amazing how like, and that has been from the same similar. It's like she went off traveling, she's done something that was super scary, but she just went, "Fuck it, I'm doing it," even though she was shitting herself. And now she's not only not drinking. She's now solo traveling more times and doesn't even think twice about it now. I mean, I'm sure there's probably little elements you like maybe have that little moment of being like, oh fuck, like whatever.
It
But
will challenge you, but that's
aye,
a good thing. It's a good challenge. It's pushing yourself, it's pushing yourself past your limits of what you've known, and it's going to expand it into a new person. It's giving it a sense of purpose.
hundred
That's what it did
percent.
for me. It gave me a sense of purpose. And see, when you do grow, you're not caring about small talk anymore. You don't care
Yes.
about gossip when you've seen
Yeah.
the world,
How's the
you know?
weather? Like
You
fuck
don't
off.
care. And your mind expands. So see, when I come back to my hometown and I looked around, so it's actually harder when you come back. I looked
Yeah.
around and I've been out into the world and people are still sitting in the same kitchen party, and I'm like, it's talking about the same stuff.
Aye.
And I'm back, and I had changed, but nobody
Aye.
around did, and that is hard to actually adjust back into when
That's
you're the
hard.
one who's grown and expanded, and the people around you have stayed the same. That's
Yeah.
actually really hard to, yeah, get. But your friend is lucky; she's got a friend like you, who's on
But she
that
did
path
say
as
that.
well.
She
Uh-huh.
did say that like she's lost a few friends in the process.
Ah,
And I was like, that's just what happens. Do you know what I mean? It's just people can't always come with you, and
no.
sometimes you need to cut them off, or sometimes you need to cut them off. Sometimes you just need to reduce the amount of time that you're surrounding
Mhm.
them. But if they're stealing your peace, it's not worth it. But I think you're so right. See,
No.
when you do any form of this work, your eyes are like so open to absolute nonsense. Like I'm not joking you, I live in my own world. Like I have no idea what is going on in the world. Like occasionally, like certain
Uh-huh.
things I'll know about. But my pal's like, what planet do you what a different friend?
Uh-huh.
She talks about things and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because she's quite into politics and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know
But
what
it's
you're talking
not
about.
as scary.
I
Like, see
don't
the
care.
world we hear on the news. It's not
I
as.
don't
You see, when I went to South America, people say, yeah, of course, what you said about your mum. People said to me, "You'll get kidnapped out there.
I
If you go to the Amazon jungle all by yourself, you'll get kidnapped out there." You know what I mean? It's like, and then I went to Colombia, and people were like, "Don't go to Colombia. Colombia is my favorite country in the full world. The people
yeah.
are so nice." But you'll
Hmm.
never know that because the media portrays it to be something it's not. So it's
Yeah.
like, don't listen to the news. Go and see the world for your own eyes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But
Because I think that's
it's
why they do it with the news. It's like they put it on the news to stop people traveling. They don't want you to travel. They want you to be stuck. They want you to stay in this low vibration of fear based. They don't. They don't want you to expand. They don't want you to find yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Totally
Because
agree
then
with
you
you.
think for yourself. Because see, when you're in the world, see when you're traveling and you're not working and you actually have time to breathe, you have time to think. And then you
Yeah,
actually think, actually, the world that I knew isn't the real world. And then it awakens you even deeper. So, yeah.
yeah, 100%. And like it does
Mhm.
it does shine a light on a lot of maybe like traits or behaviors or thought processes that other people do have around you that and
Mm.
I suppose the thing is that you can't it's not up to you to change that. It's
Mhm.
your own journey, and I think that's a big thing when you're on some sort of like healing or transformational journey. It is a big thing when you notice these things, and you probably want to say that's not good. Da, 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 da. In fact, we probably all have
Mhm.
said it at some point, but then
Right.
you realize that actually you being judgmental or whatever on these people isn't going to serve them. It's not going to serve you. It doesn't actually bring any goodness to the
No.
relationships. So
Yeah.
I either love them from a distance or just love them for who they are
Yes.
and just
The
allow
ju-
them to do what they do. Do you know what I mean?
Judgment has been one of the biggest shadows I've had to face. I
Mm.
know that I judge a lot, right? I'm not so much now, but I did judge a
Mm.
lot. That was probably one of the biggest things I had to work through was judging people. But I need to remember, their capacity of thinking that even if they are, that's their journey. This is mine. I need to, stop the two.
I think it is hard though when you go through this process and you start to
Mhm,
see these things and your eyes are opened. Like it is
mhm,
hard to not be like, that's a lot of shite, that's a lot of shite, whatever, do you know what I mean? But I suppose you can't you can't
mhm.
it's up to somebody else, isn't it, for them
So
for their
true.
own journey. So is there a practice or a ritual or an experience that has become a bit of an anchor for you in your healing journey? Is there something or some things that you do often that's like a bit of a ritual for you?
Definitely spend a lot of time in nature, and like speaking to the earth. Recently, I've been singing to the water, That is very feminine. It's really actually awakened like my feminine remembrance because our female ancestors used to go to the water and sing to it. And I sing to the water, but I wait to the water, and my intuition just tells me what I want to sing. And because I've
Right.
got a camper van, you see, so I was living in it last year. I was living in a
Right.
camper van for about a year, so I spent most of my time in nature, 90% of my time there. So I was seeing a part of nature that most people don't see, the
Yeah.
magic of it. And a lot of the times, I'd be near water and I'd be singing to the water, and I'm in Shetland now, so I'm next to the sea. So I'm,
Oh,
I'm singing in the
beautiful.
water, and I feel like, women need to awaken this and remember this. It's like something ancient, being at the water, singing at the water. It's so feminine, it's so healing. And the water is connected to the divine feminine.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Do you know what? It's funny though, some people listen to this podcast and they're like, used to are fucking crazy. So used to it. Like, I literally go to the woods and just start singing. Do you know
Yes,
what song
I
always
love
comes to
that.
me? Uh,
Uh-huh.
Have you heard of the song Pachamama?
Aye, I
Like,
think
every time I'm in the woods, it's like, boom.
love that. You're
And I
talking
just
to
start
Mother
singing.
Earth, didn't you?
I just start
Yeah.
singing. So
Uh-huh. Get it.
I totally resonate with that. And
Uh-huh.
people probably don't even recognize that they are actually doing that anyway. Like, do you know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? Like, there's be
Yeah.
elements of when you're sitting at the water, you do have these songs that come to your head,
Yes.
but
Yes.
they'll not connect it. They won't connect it to. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's
Yes,
amazing.
definitely. It's beautiful. And something else I do every morning, I always tune in with my womb. Before
Right.
I even touch my
How'd you do
phone,
that?
I just take a few deep breaths. I put my hand in my womb and I talk to my womb. So you want to build a relationship with your womb to start with. You want to start talking to it. Your voice and your womb are connected. Do you know
Mm,
if you have a tight jaw, you probably have a tight womb? See if you're not speaking your truth. You could see if you have period pains, that can be connected to you not speaking your truth, not speaking up for yourself, not allowing healthy conflict.
mm,
Anything that's going on in your womb can actually reflect your boundaries. You
mhm,
saying yes and you want to say no. It's all connected. So, I just take a few deep breaths in the morning and like check in my womb and, speak to my womb like, hi. I call it my woomie, your roommate of the body. It's your woomie.
mhm.
Yeah, so you want to build that connection. Your womb will speak to you. Your womb's got intelligence. Your womb has a consciousness. So I take deep breaths and just tune into my womb space and just ask it, different things every day. For instance, have you got any wisdom you'd like to share with me today? Or is there any healing that wants to move through you? Because your ancestral healing all lives in there too. You carry
Mhm,
7 generations back from your mother line that lives in your womb space. You
mhm,
know, you were in your grandmother's womb as a little tiny egg. So there's a lot going on down there. And if you've had children, you've carried all your babies through there. There's, if you've had like traumatic births,
yeah, I did.
carry that down there. Your
Yeah.
creativity lives in there as well. Your creativity is birthed through your womb. All the sexual partners you've had, if you've had any sex, the imprints of them all live in your womb. So just
Yeah.
checking in my womb, talking to my womb, and asking my womb what wants to move through me that day, what wants to come through me, and my womb will tell me, it'll give me wisdom. I
Mhm,
remember it gave me a vision of a snail. Like the other day, it gave me a vision of a snail, and it was telling me, how us feminines need to slow down. That's how we'll heal our nervous system by slowing everything down. It can talk to you through sensations, through pain, and our womb's always speaking to us because we
yeah.
ovulate and we bleed. It's always speaking to us through that,
There's
but it's
always something
also
happening.
speaking to us through in between. And also, every month of my period is a ritual for me. It's a ritual. I don't do nothing on my period, and rest is rebellion against this capitalistic system that wants us burnt out. So when I'm on my period, it's literally a ritual for me. I make yummy soups. or stews, and I just sit and rest with my womb space. I just don't do anything. I use that sacred time just to be, because we are shedding emotionally, physically, energetically. We're releasing, and sometimes I actually use that to see I'm going through something. That my last bleed, a lot of things were coming up of unworthiness. I sat and holding my womb and visualized that, like, my blood being a waterfall and releasing all the unworthiness that I felt, and then giving it the blood back to the earth. It's obviously better if you're wearing, reusable period pants,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then give your period blood back to the earth, and like giving that back to the earth. Anything that comes up in your period, because you are more emotional then, use that sacred time as a release. That is your time to release, and visualize everything that needs to be released through your blood. I
Mm-hmm.
do that every month. I'm always shedding in my bleed. If you feel like crying, good, you're releasing your shedding.
Yeah,
If you feel
yeah.
angry, yeah, it's fine. Anything that needs to be shedded energetically, emotionally, physically, let it go in your blood. So that's something I do every single time in my bleed.
That's
I
interesting.
see it as the ceremony it is, and the sacred, yeah.
And so therefore on when you're bleeding, you should be at rest, you shouldn't be training, you should be lowering your workload and stuff like that. Is that right?
You only have 20% life force energy, so your hormones are all at their lowest. Yeah. So that is why you feel more fatigued, because you literally are. I think because we live in a masculine driven world, we've tried to be mini men, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
aren't. We literally aren't as strong as men, and we need to be okay with that. Like throughout
Mhm.
the month, we have different strength levels, mood levels, energy levels. We are cycling round. So
Mhm.
when we're bleeding, yes, it's a time to rest. I personally do not exercise when I'm bleeding. I see that time as a sacred time. Your ancestors, have you heard the red tents and moon lodges?
No.
So our ancestors would leave the tribe and they would all go into this thing called a red tent with the rest of the women, because women used to bleed on the new moon. They all
Same,
bled
yeah.
together. So they
Mhm.
all left the tribe. They would go into a red tent and they would just stay there for the full time they were bleeding. Your dreams are more psychic and you have more prophetic dreams when you're bleeding. So they would like bring back visions for the rest of the tribe and clarity. They would use that time to be with their sisters. They weren't allowed to cook, they weren't allowed to clean. It was just a time of sacred rest. They would like braid each other's hairs, tell stories, just be with their sisters. So I'm basically bringing that back alive within myself. I'm reclaiming that ancestral remembrance. I'm not just resting for myself. I'm resting for all my ancestors who couldn't. It actually feels like that. Like I'm the first woman in my lineage who's actually allowed to rest. And I
Aye.
feel like more women need to slow down. See, when they start slowing down and coming back home to their womb and actually listen to what it has to say and allowing ourselves to slow down in their periods, they will come back into harmony and sovereignty with our womb spaces.
Mhm.
Honestly, just tune into that portal because it's a portal.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't do anything in my blade. I'll eat yummy foods. Dark cacao is great for when you're on your periods. Ginger tea if you have period pains. You want to be eating iron rich foods and you want to be eating magnesium as well. So any yummy soups, lentil soups, stews, broths, that's what you want to be eating. You want to keep your womb nice and warm. You don't
Okay.
want to be getting in the cold water when you're on your blade either. It's very sensitive and you want to keep socks on at all times because your feet and your womb are connected. So you want to keep everything nice and warm. Hot water bottles. Your body needs to be nice and warm because it's doing a lot of work to be shedding.
The shed, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
I
the
think
advice I'll give all women.
I think it's so true though, isn't it? Like you're saying about the slowing down thing and the nervous system. I
Oh,
think sometimes it's something you start to recognize as you start to get older, that like the importance of that like is massive. It's
mhm,
definitely been something that has been more I've had more awareness to in the last
mhm,
maybe year or so, is the whole nervous system and really slowing down. Before I was like, you almost wear it as a bit of a badge of honor that you do go 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 all the time. Do you know what I mean? And actually sometimes it's
mhm,
you need to recognize that actually no, you need to listen to your body, because your body, like you
mhm.
said about your womb being such a like a clever space, your whole body actually is. Your whole body is
Yeah.
always communicating with you, isn't it? And I think sometimes we are so guilty of, whether that's with drink, drugs, or just busyness, you're so guilty of just closing it down, closing it down, closing it down, no listening, no listening, no listening. And eventually
Mhm.
it kicks you in the arse. Like eventually like there's a whole that book, The Body Keeps the Score. Eventually it's gonna just go, nah.
Mhm.
I'm not taking it anymore. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean death, of course, but that could be a massive injury. That could be something really painful or whatever it may be. There comes a point where it takes it takes over.
It does, and then it makes you stop. It makes if you don't
Yeah,
look after your health, then it will eventually make you stop and look after it,
100%.
doesn't it? Yeah.
100%. And so you
hmm
now hold women's circles and retreats.
Yes.
Is the retreat just a grief one, or do you do women's retreats as well?
I'm going to start.
I'm going to do
I've
them,
not done
amazing.
that yet, but that is what's going to come in the future. I'm doing this
Yeah,
like 9 months container of the feminine facilitator and the mentor. I'm so excited to be working with her. She seems very aligned with the path I'm on. So when I have all that, all that knowledge, all that wisdom, and then I'll eventually be doing women's retreats as
amazing.
well. So
So
yeah.
when you hold these circles and you're about to do this grief retreat, what does that feel like to hold that space for other women?
I just feel like, see the sisterhood. I feel like we
Mhm.
need it more than ever.
Yeah.
There's a big sisterhood wound in the world, women against each other in competition. And
Yeah.
I feel like just in general, women hold a lot. They're
Mm.
carrying so much in their day-to-day lives, and like just bringing women together to breathe, to just be in that space where they don't have to be anything else but themselves,
Yes.
just to be with other women, just a space for them to let go and just
Yeah.
be. Yeah, it's just beautiful, and I love it as
It
well.
is.
It heals me as well, when I'm
Yeah.
holding that space for those women.
It really
Yeah,
does. It is.
yeah.
I think it's a hard question as well, isn't it? Because I say this about like when I'm doing retreats or
Mhm.
workshops or circles, there is no there is no words to
No.
explain like the shifts in people. Like there's no words. I think it's something that you either see or feel. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if you can either
hmm
witness it, like I notice some of the women that come into retreat. In fact, not some, all of them. They'll come in a certain energy. Their physiology maybe is quite kind of a pulled in, quite shrunken, and if
hmm
that's a word. But literally, it is like they just totally transform. You
Yeah.
see their energy shift. You see their physiology shift. You see like a brightness behind their eyes. They have this zest back for life, and it sounds like it can't be true. Do you know what I mean? Like doing the
Uh-huh.
visualizations, like doing all this different work. It sounds so too easy. It sounds too easy for it to be the thing that shifts people. But people just make it so complicated, don't they? Like you're talking about like the
hmm
visualization with the pleat. Like
Yes.
visualization is so powerful, so powerful,
Yes.
and I don't think your general population, and it sounds very woo-woo, it sounds
hmm
very like unrealistic, it sounds like it
hmm
totally does, but it fucking works.
It does. You must feel good as well, though, like when the women leave you and they're
Oh,
they're
it's
feeling
amazing.
all that, that goodness, and it's good, but it makes you feel good that they feel good as well, doesn't
Absolutely.
it?
Like you say, it is a calling. Like it very much is like a
It
calling.
is, isn't it?
It's like changing, turning that similar to yourself, turning that pain into purpose, isn't it? It's
Yes.
like actually there's been a reason for all this shit. There's been a reason that I have
Yeah.
been given this knowledge, this wisdom, this power to share it with other people. It's so beautiful to witness. Um, what transformations do you witness? I was obviously saying there, like I notice people, their physiologies, their energy, there's just that connectedness, that sisterhood is so beautiful. Especially I would say on retreat because it's like immersive, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
there's so much immersion over a few days. What
hmm
transformations do you normally see when women are reconnecting to their bodies and reconnecting to their wombs and all that sort of stuff? What sort of a stuff do you tend to see or hear from people that start
Yeah,
getting
it's
in
just
tune?
like a lightness. It's if that's the first time they were witnessed, like the first time they've been seen in that light, where they've been able to share themselves, where they've been
Yeah.
able to be vulnerable and, been in that space, that container, that sacredness of allowing themselves just to be and let whatever comes out come out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's so powerful, isn't it? It really is.
hmm
So when you speak, obviously you speak a lot about the sacred earth and the ancient healing. What do you feel like, as modern women are being called back to these practices? Why do you feel that we're getting called back to these practices? Because it is becoming more, there is more people. Maybe it's
Yeah.
just I'm just seeing it more because I'm connected to so many more people in that way. But it seems that there's more of
Yes.
us guided to that path.
hmm
or to like understand it or that sort of a thing. So why do you think that is?
I feel like the feminine is awakening. You know, there's a big divine feminine awakening happening on the planet right now. And I
Mm,
feel like just with everything with the wars and the masculine driven world, it's just not sustainable anymore. And I actually feel really connected to the earth, but I feel her cries, you know, she's
mm,
so upset that her children are disconnected from her, that the people that walk among her don't even know her. You know, she feels that and I feel that for her, you
mm,
know. um and I feel like, you know, women just have to return to the sacredness because there's no other way. Because there's a lot of illnesses, especially in their women's like endometriosis, PCOS. There's a lot of women burning themselves out, and women need the village. They need the village. You know, you
yeah,
can't do it all alone. Women need each other, and I feel like women coming together is a lot more than just one. We
mm,
we we thrive better with matriarchy when you know the women and the children at the centre. Women are a circle where
mm,
you know the patriarchy is like a hierarchy where we
yeah, yeah,
thrive and circle, don't we? And I feel like women need that. They need that essence in their life. They need other sisters to support them, to nurture them, to hold them. Like we need to do it together. We cannot survive this world alone. Like we
yeah,
just can't. And I feel like a lot of women are burnt out and they need to return to their feminine essence. They need to return to the slower pace of life. You
yeah,
know, and I feel like a lot more women are noticing that. And it could be because of illnesses that they're having the awakening or
yeah,
realization that they have to come back home to the sacredness of their bodies, of their hearts, of their wombs, you know,
yeah,
of sisterhood. Sisterhood, the
yeah,
big one. Because we can't
absolutely.
do it. We can't do it alone. I don't.
It's
We
that
just can't.
connection, isn't it? Like you say, like back
Hmm.
the ancient tribes, or even like I say the ancient
Yeah.
tribes, but the indigenous tribes, like to this day, are very at their tribes. Like they are very together,
Yes.
aren't they? So like
Yes.
I think it is. It's like bringing back that sense of community, that sense of
Hmm.
connection, that sense of like we are in this together, isn't it? Like, and
Yeah.
I think it's something that's really lost in this day and age for sure. There's it's like it's competition over collaboration is more so than the other way about. And actually, if everybody
Yes.
collaborated more, it would actually be a much more beautiful space. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
What do you
Yeah.
think's been lost in our relationship with the feminine in our bodies?
I feel like what's been long, we're numbing out. We're
Yeah.
very numb. We're very outward focused. We're very future focused as well. That's
Mm.
very masculine. That's a very masculine driven way. But I feel like what's been lost is we need to come our sensual nature, our pleasure, you know. And I think there's a lot of women who do struggle with pleasure, and not just the pleasure like the orgasms, but like pleasure in daily life, like feeling the sun upon their face and actually feeling
Mm.
it, the pleasure of it, you know, like dancing slowly and sensually. Like, does many women actually get to do that? Probably not. You know, there's the sensual side and the pleasure side. That is missing a lot, you know,
Mm.
where women are getting to be soft. A lot of women aren't allowed to be soft because they're
Mm.
forced into their masculine energy. They're forced into being hard because they're having to run themselves in the house. And the
Right.
masculine's acting like the feminine because the masculine wants a mother, not a partner. So the woman's
Yeah.
holding it all together. The woman needs to be held, you know.
Yeah.
She's not shouldn't be the one that's holding it all together. So the woman needs to come back to her sensuality, her softness, her pleasure, you know,
Mhm.
our sensual nature. I feel like that's
Yeah.
that's missing a lot.
100%. And he's mentioned there
Hmm.
about being held. I think it's so important to be
Yeah.
held, isn't it? Like
Hmm.
I went to a ceremony not that long ago, and they basically done like a little thing why are you here, blah 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 sort of thing, you know.
Hmm.
And I was said the similar. See, when you do this kind of work and you do help guide other people through things, like you have to be held too. And I
Yeah.
think once upon a time though, I would definitely have been like, I don't need anybody else. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. Whereas now I'm
Highly
like,
independent. Yeah, I was
hyper
like that.
independent. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I don't need anybody. I'll do it myself to do it. Whereas now I'm like, nah, actually I do. I do need people. I do need to
That's
have I do
beautiful.
need that moment to be held by other people
Yes.
and allow.
That's you coming into your feminine energy by noticing that. That is you becoming more feminine by allowing yourself to be held and that is feminine in its nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's needed. It's totally needed,
Uh-huh.
like you
It's so
say,
needed, yeah.
in this day and age as well, because there is so many, like you say, that the way our world is now is very different
Hmm.
to what it was in our ancestors. So like
Yes.
we are in this need to be busy, need to prove, need to have it be accepted, need to like have all this stuff going on, all these
Hmm.
wheels and plates turning. And actually, a lot of the time it's busy full. A lot of the time you're spinning these plates and then half of them don't even really matter. Like it's
Exactly.
just pure
Nature,
nonsense.
we
Do you know
have
what I
to return to nature. Like
mean?
that is the missing link. Like nature has got the answers for everything. You
Yeah.
know, if you just go to nature and like I actually was at the water the other day and like the waves were very fierce, you know, and the
Mm,
water's like the feminine. And I was like, that reminded me of the wild woman archetype. But what I noticed was it was the wind that was making those waves fierce. And I was like, the wind's the masculine. We need the masculine and the feminine to come into union.
yes.
And we need
Yeah.
our own inner feminine. We need our own inner masculine to hold
Mm,
our inner feminine. Without
mm.
our inner masculine having the structure, our inner feminine can't thrive,
Yeah,
you know. And I
yeah,
feel like in this patriarchal world, it's like, oh, men versus women. No, that's how it began. We need to come into union with each other if we're going to get anywhere. The men
yeah,
and women need each other as well. It's not me versus you. It's like we know
yeah,
union.
yeah, 100%,
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
How can women start reconnecting with their intuition and their inner wisdom in everyday life? So obviously you spoke already about
Yeah.
like speaking to your womb, which to a lot of people will feel ridiculous and will sound ridiculous. What what can you what how can women start connecting?
I feel like nature, Mother Earth,
Yeah,
right? She's the first protocol. She's going to connect you right back because as feminines in our ancient ancestral days, we were just sitting at the water. We're not about doing, it's about being. You need to
yeah,
return to being. And I know that's hard if you live in a survival mode, you've got ADHD, I get it. But just sitting at the water, not having to distract yourself, but just being, watching the waves, you know, the water's so connected to the feminine. Just sit at the water. Just
mm,
honestly, that's the first protocol. Just symbolize it, you know.
yeah,
Take a
yeah,
few deep breaths. If you feel like dancing at the water, do that. If you feel like singing at the water, do that. You know, just feel that. And actually, the water connects you back to your intuition. The
yeah,
water really helps you connect back to your subconscious and your intuition. And like that's the first protocol. Women need to be more in nature.
yeah,
Like we all do, but like that is really how we're going to connect back to our feminine essence. The first mother, Mother Earth, she's got all the answers. She'll hold you, you know,
yeah,
she'll
yeah.
guide you. She's a teacher. She'll guide you back to your feminine essence
And I
and
suppose
slow
that
down and, you
is,
know, not like the reason I connected back to my feminine essence. I know I'm privileged. That's a privilege that I've had. I've got to travel. Not everyone has that privilege. I
yeah,
get that.
yeah,
Because I was got to travel for 6 months and not work, I was able to tap back into that feminine
yeah,
essence
yeah,
because I never had distractions around me. I never had the rat race. I never had living on
yeah,
autopilot. I never had go, go, go. No, so even
yeah,
just taking those moments in the morning, like I said, and you know, taking deep breaths into your womb space,
yeah.
open up the channel, hello womb, you know, just getting that relationship going. It will take a while for the relationship to build, but it's just like
Mhm.
anything in life. Just taking a few deep breaths in the morning. That is
Yeah,
a start. Go outside and watch the sunset. The
yeah,
sunrise every morning, put your face against the sun because the sun actually really helps our hormones.
yeah,
That
yeah.
helps our hormones so much. We overcomplicate things, but
Yeah, we
literally
do, for
go out
sure.
and watch the sunrise. Go out and watch the sun. Feel the sun upon your
Yeah,
face. Drinking your tea, feeling the tea go down your body, and just
yeah,
feel the sensualness of it. You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people overcomplicate things and have all these
Yeah.
different supplements and da, 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 da. But even though you said you were privileged in the fact you could travel, people maybe can't travel like and take 6 months off their work, but they
Mhm.
can take a hell of a lot of time away for that. Do you know
Aye,
what I mean?
100%. And
Like,
there's apps. There's an app you can use that you can actually block your social media.
aha,
So you can block your social media for an hour. Block your social media for an hour on one of the apps.
yeah,
Go to the forest. Go to the river. You know,
mhm,
just sit and be there. Talk to Mother Water. Leave her an offering. You know,
yeah,
thank the water for holding you. You know,
mhm,
if anything comes up in the water, if you're crying tears into her, then thank her for holding you. You know, and that just opens up that channel to your own
yeah.
inner feminine. Yeah.
And I suppose none of this needs to be actually outspoken, does it? It can be
No,
inside
aye,
yourself. You don't
no.
need to say it out loud.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this right now who feels totally disconnected from herself or is unsure of her, like the path, what would you want her to hear today?
I would definitely feel like start tuning back into yourself, you know. Meditation is a great way for you to start listening to yourself, you
Yeah,
know, just meditating for like 5 minutes a day.
yeah,
Because when your mind's overthinking and you've got a lot of inner chatter, you know, going
yeah,
on there, you know, just taking that 5 minutes to breathe, to meditate, to listen to the inner voice, you
yeah.
know, and not the chatter, but the actual inner soul.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Because even though you're saying whatever you're saying, the
I'm just like, but I'm still here.
that's right. The the wee noise, the voice is still going to be there. The voice isn't going to go away,
Oh,
isn't it not? But it's just like a
no,
quieting that down and actually tuning in, isn't it? And
yes.
tapping into that, see that first thing that's came to your head. That is the thing that you need to listen to, not the
Uh-huh.
crap that's behind it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we'll finish up because I know I've kept you for super long. Um, one question that I always ask all my guests is if you could go back
Yeah.
and tell little Danielle, whatever age that is for you, anything, what would you tell her?
Oh, I like that question. I would tell her it's going to work out, don't worry and just, I know you've got a lot of, worries, doubts, low self-worth, not feeling that you're good enough, feeling very sensitive. I was a very sensitive child and I still am, you know, and telling her that that sensitivity is actually going to be her gift one day, that's going to be her power and that's going to what's going to help her guide other people in this path. So yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people find you?
Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram. My TikTok is called The Feminine Way. My Facebook, Danielle Madden. I've also got a page called The Feminine Way on Facebook. And then my Instagram is Danielle Madden.
Okay, fabulous. I'll tag
Yeah.
on the show notes anyway. All right. So
Thank
if you get
you.
in
Thank you
contact
so
with,
much, Donna, for
you're so
having me. I've
welcome.
loved this chat. It's been
It's
great.
been so good. I feel like we could talk
Thank
for
you.
days.
I know.
So if you want to get in contact with Danielle, I'll drop her Instagram and stuff like that in the show notes. And if you want to get in contact with me, same thing goes. So have an incredible day. Thank you again, Danielle, for joining us today. It's been a really incredible story. I will pick your brains, no doubt, more than that. It's been amazing to hear your story. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.